How are you? Good to see you.
Well, Lou, congratulations on the gig. How did this all kind of come together?
It was really rather interesting. I had a group of former players, probably spearheaded with guys like, Jay Lehman and Cam Buckner and guys like that who were really excited about an opportunity that they'd heard about here. And I'd heard from some people here as well too. Trent Chestnut, just an amazing equipment manager, and he called immediately and said, if you want to come on back, let's talk to Tim and see what we need to do to get you back. And of course, I was all in, very excited for it, absolutely.
So did you kind of reach out to Lovey, or how'd that process go, and what was the conversation like with him?
It was interesting. At first, I was trying to make contact with Tim, his right-hand man, and we kept missing each other for some reason. And I wasn't really hearing anything back from Tim at the moment. And then next thing you know, Lovey just called and said, hey, let's talk a little bit. So we talked a little bit about philosophy, about expectations, and it sounded like we hit it off really well in our phone conversation. And he said, okay, I'm going to see what we can do to bring you on up. And next thing you know, I came on up for a day, and it was absolutely amazing.
Why was this place you wanted to come back to?
Oh, absolutely. It's just an incredible place, a really special place. I feel like I've had an opportunity to build a room here, so there's still kind of a piece of what my philosophy has been here. So that's number one. Number two, from a personal standpoint, I got my wife to marry me here, and I have my two little girls were born here. So that's from the personal standpoint of it. But I've always just had a great connection with this place. It meant so much when I was here, and it was primarily because of the people and the community, the former players, and it's just been exciting to come on back.
How are you different? How are you the same in philosophy or anything else from when you were here?
I'd say we're pretty much well the same. Obviously, there's no substitute for hard work. There's no substitute for pain and discomfort. There's no substitute for dedication and accountability. So when it comes to those things, that's still the primary philosophy and what I believe in. The big lifts, I still enjoy all those, and probably the newest thing is all the technology that's out now, from GPS to monitor guys' workloads and speeds and distances, from Spartas with their force plates to run diagnostics on the guys to find out what their strengths and weaknesses are. So a lot of those things have really helped me in what my approach is, in solidifying what I believe in.
Did Coach Smith say you have to have a beard?
You know what? I heard that's just the thing to do when you're in Champaign. All great men in Champaign have beards, is what I've been told. So, correct.
Who have you heard from other former players? Have you heard from? I talked to Chris Norwell today. They're all fired up. You coming back? Who else have you heard from?
Oh boy, I think there was about 50 guys that I heard from. Martin O'Donnell, Kevin Mitchell, Juice Williams, Vontae Davis, guys like that from that time period. It's just been Tyler Rouse, just been an amazing group of guys that have reached out. So it's been really, I'm humbled, I'm honored. It's probably one of my greatest, I feel, achievements in my coaching career, that this particular group of guys have made such an impact in their life that they spearheaded the start of me coming back, which is really interesting, because I think 10 years ago, if you would have asked them that in 10 years you're going to try to bring him back, they probably wouldn't have felt the same way at that moment.
Oh, not
in time.
so happy with
That's
you.
exactly right.
What's the acclimation process like to a new group of guys that you haven't seen before?
What we're going to do is, I've talked to Coach, and I'm going to be an extension of what he's expecting, and it's the first thing is I'm not necessarily concerned with what they lift, how they lift, and how they run. It's how they approach those things. So it's their expectations, it's their work ethic, and it's their accountability. Those are the things that I'm going to work on first, and all the rest of it from there will eventually start to come.
Does it still get your mind right?
That's the philosophy. Yes, sir.
Does it help that there are people here that know you? Maybe you don't know the coaches, but there are people around, like you mentioned, Trent and other people. Is that a big thing, kind of lay the groundwork for the players hey, they can tell you what's Coach Lou like.
Yeah, I think that's really important, just to kind of get the guys a little bit of an idea of what the expectations will be like. I think that's always great that they have a little bit of an idea that things might be different. I don't know if they're going to be better, but it's definitely going to be different. So I think it's great for them to have some type of information going into the play.
Did you follow this place? I mean, you're in another school, and you got your own things going on. Were you able to follow what was going on here, and what'd you think?
Of course, I followed it all the way through. There was still so many people that I knew from a personal, relationship that you always want, people to be successful in this business. And when you see, the result or the score, or the season, you're just hoping that the people there are doing well and can continue to move forward. So I watched it all the way through.
You've seen this place at its highest it's been in 10 plus years, going to the Rose Bowl. In your eyes, what's it take to get back to that?
I think we've got a great blueprint established by that group of guys. They were an amazing group. It was an incredible, melting pot of guys that had to work hard to improve their bodies, change and improve their athleticism, sprinkled in with some amazing talent. But the biggest thing about that one group is still their love for each other and their brotherhood, and how that has still continued to last throughout the years, and the bond that they've created doing all the things that they were supposed to do together is probably the biggest deal for that.
What do you see in this current group of players? I know you just got here, and is there anyone that you're overly excited to get to work with?
When I come into a group, I'm not really trying to look for individuals right now. I'm more concerned about the team, the culture, the attitude, the interest. So those are the things that I'm looking forward to more first versus the individual.
Do you have any trouble talking to your wife into coming back here or no?
Absolutely not.
Yeah. She's from here?
She's from Muhammad.
Okay, so
She is from Muhammad.
no problem.
No problem at all. This is a dream job for her and for me. So couldn't be happier.
Was where the last couple you played Illinois a couple times?
Yes.
There and here.
Correct.
Was that kind of odd for you? Was it how'd that develop?
Yeah, it really was. I mean, usually you go into a game and your mentality is you want to face your opponent, you want to destroy your opponent. You want to be violent against your opponent. You want to dominate your opponent. But every time I think we faced Illinois during that time period, that approach never really came into my mindset. So yeah, I always had a special bond with this university and institution.
Thanks, Coach.
Oh,